The political season is on. Again, as in past electoral exercises, the Commission on Elections is mandated to carry out its constitutional duty of ensuring clean and honest elections. October 1 to 5 is the period for the filing of the certificates of candidacies for national and local elective posts. It's the first stage of the electoral process for the 2013 elections in May. How ready is the Comelec? How qualified are the candidates? And finally, how mature are our people in voting for the candidates that will truly serve their interests and that of the nation? Joining us tonight is Comelec spokesperson, Attorney James Jimenez. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
So it seems between now and the elections, you will be in heavy demand.
Well, I guess so.
So to start us off, the election season is on officially. How many parties are accredited? Is the administration coalition or the United Nationalist Alliance accredited? Will this include local and regional parties?
Well, the United Nationalist Alliance is definitely accredited, and we have a huge number of political parties, really. More than 10, absolutely. And they have a lot of local counterparts as well. We expect to see a lot of candidates actually participating in this election. We have more than 18,000 positions up for grabs. And then that basically means that you're looking at anywhere from double that number, certainly in terms of candidates. The average number of candidates per position average is about 5 candidates per position, so that's a lot of people.
So that's a lot. You said more than double will actually file for their certificates of candidacy on these 18,000 elective posts. Now, you can't help having nuisance candidates. Are there already, how long will the disqualification of nuisance candidates be? And what are the grounds and the reasons why a candidate will be disqualified?
Well, ideally, we should dispose of these nuisance cases before the end of the year. One of the things that we're looking at really is to make sure that when we do finalize the list, it will be the same list that will be given to the printers for the printing of the ballots early next year, most probably January. Now, as for what nuisance candidates are those who file their certificates of candidacy with the intention, whether obvious or not, I guess, to make a mockery of the system or to create confusion arising usually out of similarity in names with another candidate. In order to weed out the nuisance candidates, basically we're looking at other candidates filing that case against them, or the Comelec motu proprio going deeper into their certificates of candidacy to determine for itself whether or not these candidates actually represent a meaningful and serious effort to compete in the elections.
So moving on, let's go to the fundraising for candidates to the Senate. Is there a limit to it? How much does a candidate spend per voter? And do you actually monitor their expenses in real time?
We monitor their expenses as much as we can, but we can't really do it, as you say, in real time, simply because there are a lot of incidental expenses that normally we wouldn't see. For instance, if you were to hold a rally, then you can get the broad strokes of the cost of that. But on the ground, where people are spending money for additional things or for emergency supplies, then that can be pretty difficult to keep track of. Each candidate is allowed to spend some money per candidate, and we're looking into arranging or into adjusting those rates simply because the old rates are pretty low. So we're thinking of adjusting those rates upward to reflect, to a certain extent, the actual cost of campaigning. It becomes very difficult, really, when you talk about campaign fundraising, because really there are no laws that set a cap on the amount of money that candidate can raise. In fact, there's even no law dictating what a candidate should do with his campaign funds. If you remember, one of the problems that we encountered after the 2010 elections was that some candidates had a lot of money left over, and the BIR has taken some steps towards addressing that problem. But basically, it all boils down to the fact that while we do try to control spending, we have very lax rules with regards to fundraising and the disposition of campaign funds.
Was there ever a time, sir, that you reminded a candidate that he might be going beyond what is prescribed?
Oh,
Amount?
absolutely. But realistically speaking, the candidate can submit a statement of expenditures, and we're going to have to really rely on that in the first instance. If we were to dig a little deeper, then perhaps we would come up with a different result. I need to say it might turn out to be inaccurate, but up to now, the Comelec really has not had the resources to go in depth into these statements of expenditure. So we warn the candidates, certainly. We tell them that they have to look out for the spending. But again, realistically speaking, the only time we can actually look at how much you're spending is when the campaign is all done.
So this early on, are there any potential hotspots under review by the Comelec? What will be the basis for the Comelec to put these areas under your control for the election period? Take the case of Maguindanao. Is this one of them?
Right. I know we used to call it hotspots, but we've been trying to avoid that label because we feel that it unfairly magnifies the problem encountered in those areas. Instead, we call them areas of concern. Now, areas of concern are those places that have had a history of some trouble, history of fighting, history of violence, and that sort of thing. So, in general, we do have a lot of areas of concern, and these have been those places that have historically had that sort of trouble. But as we approach Election Day, a new category is actually created. It's called the area of immediate concern. These are the places where, having a history of violence, we also have a high expectation of violence erupting in the immediate future. So we're looking at these places, and we always evaluate them in tandem with the PNP. And it is based on this evaluation that we decide now if the situation on the ground has gotten really bad and the local authorities are having difficulty sorting it out themselves, perhaps because the local authorities have become co-opted by the political influences in that area. That's when the Comelec steps in and takes over basically everything. Peacekeeping, local administration, even to the point of having a say in the deployment of the troops.
So moving
that's
on,
a very rare occasion.
Moving now to the voters, sir. When is the deadline for the registration of voters? How many voters will there be for the elections approximately, do you think?
We expect there will be about 52 million voters.
So when is the deadline
The
for the
deadline for filing
registration?
a certificate of deadline for voter registration is October 31. I have to remind you though that October 1 to 5 voter registration has been suspended to give way to the filing of CSC.
Sir, finally, with regards to the party list groups, any update on this? Do you have an initial list of the parties that may be disqualified?
We have lists of party lists that have not made it through successfully at the division level, but we're waiting for their appeal periods to run out. We cannot make announcements unless their denials have attained finality.
So how many have been disqualified?
17.
17, sir. Do you have any specific names of these party lists that have been disqualified? Name a few.
We've published the names. I just don't have them with me at the moment. But, I guess some of them include the alcoholics. Some of them include the people without the cockfighters also, I think. Yeah.
Sir, in this list, are there any incumbents that have been disqualified?
Not yet. The matter of reviewing existing party list accreditations, we won't be releasing any results for that until we release the final list. So that's the only time we'll find out what happens.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That was Attorney James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections. Thank you, sir.